The Passover meal is complete, and Jesus leads his disciples, save one, to a garden called Gethsemane. Jesus often comes here when he is near Jerusalem, away from the mass of people and animals packed into the city for the festival. The sky is alight with the stars of early evening, and a cool western wind dances in the olive leaves, blanketing the garden in a sound like hushed heavenly prayer. The disciples gathered to sit by the twisted trunk of an elder olive tree, and Jesus calls 3 of them to walk with him a bit further up the hill. John, one of the 3, the disciple whom Jesus loved, rises to follow.
I pace a short track into the grass as I watch Jesus crest the hill and disappear over the ridge. 3 steps forward, 3 steps back, 3 forward, 3 back, forward, back, forward, back. James tells me to stop plowing the hillside with my feet. I turn back to see he and Peter have already settled onto the ground with their backs against a boulder. He told us to watch with him, I say, renewing my fervent march. Peter says that pacing is not watching, and I'm making him nervous. I pause to consider, but he seems different tonight, I say. And what was that about his flesh and blood at supper? And where did Judas go in such a hurry? I don't know. But before I can take another step, James tells me to sit down, baby brother. I cast him a hard look, then concede to sit beside him. The night is cold. I pull my cloak tighter around my shoulders. Peter reminds me how often Jesus goes alone to pray, and how often we don't understand his teachings the first time. I nearly laugh at that, and then Peter assures me that Jesus will explain it when he gets back. I nod and feel my shoulders relax. I sigh my back against the stone and tuck my hands inside my cloak. The night really has gotten cold. James tells me not to worry, adding another baby brother for emphasis. I ignore him and strain my weary eyes towards the hilltop. A hand on my shoulder startles me from my slumber. When had I fallen asleep? I had been looking up the hill, and then Jesus is kneeling beside me. His face is covered in sweat, as though he had just run here from the other side of the city. No, not sweat. Is that blood? I start to stand, and Jesus moves his hand to my chest and looks at Peter.
Could you not keep watch with me for an hour? Watch and pray so you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak.
Before I can say anything, Jesus rises and walks away again up the hill. I look to Peter, who stares at the ground, wearing a stony expression to mask his shame, and then I move to stand and follow Jesus. James grabs my arm and shakes his head. That was blood, I say to him. Are we supposed to leave him alone now? Peter's gaze is still fixed on the ground, and he repeats the phrase, "Watch and pray." He's right. Jesus told us what to do, and we cannot fail again. I watch my teacher, my friend, my best friend trudge away, burdened with a weight that I don't understand. I bow my head before our Heavenly Father, but my prayer is choked by silent sobs.
The disciples do fail again, stricken with heavy eyes and exhausted from sorrow. John, James, and Peter fall asleep, not once or twice, but 3 times. When Jesus rouses them the final time, a faint orange glow invades the edge of the Cyrene garden. Torches blaze, swords clank, and many feet trample toward the assembly of Jesus' followers. Leading the mob is Judas Iscariot, one of the 12, the betrayer.
I've walked this path before. The soft grass below, the open sky above, and the smell of the wind in the olive branches remind me of the many times Jesus took us here to pray. He will be here with the others. They don't understand. May not for some time yet, but I do. He is no Messiah, no Savior. All that power he commands, and for what? A bit of food and wine? Healing a few outcasts? Dining with Samaritans? Our nation is oppressed. Our brothers and sisters are dying, and he speaks of loving our enemies. He could have let me grow our resources. He could have summoned an army. He could have roused the people to fight back. I'm tired of waiting for help he will never give. Tonight, I will give him to the priests, so we can wait for the king we deserve. Armed guards and servants follow me as we approach the place I know Jesus will be with the other disciples. My supposed brothers. They are confused, tired, cold. But he stands still in their midst, looking straight at me as I approach, as if he is expecting me. I stop short of their group and mine stops behind me. They are waiting for my signal. I move toward Jesus, force a smile, and spit out the words, "Greetings, Rabbi." I lay my hands upon his shoulders and kiss his cheek. This is the sign the guards have been waiting for. I have marked the one they are to arrest. But as I pull away, Jesus says,
"Judas, are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss?"
His words fill my ears and revive a slumbering piece of my mind. But I don't hear the voice of the man I have followed for the last 3 years. I hear the voice of God. His eyes pierce my soul with the light of heaven, and all grows dim but for his face, now burning like the sun. I cannot bear to look upon him. My hands fall from my shoulders to wrap around myself. How could I have been so blind? He is no imposter. He is the one we have waited for, our true king. He was teaching us to be like him, but in my arrogance I could not see, and now I betray the very presence of God with a kiss of friendship. I dare another look at Jesus and see love and sorrow. I see eternity in an instant, eternity that I have just traded for 30 pieces of silver. If I could speak, I would wail and bring curses upon my head, or fall at his feet and beg for forgiveness. But what forgiveness could there be for a man like me? I stumble back through the mob with their swords and torches, then run into the dark cover of night.
Judas, the betrayer, sinks into the crowd while armed guards take tentative steps toward the man they came for. Jesus is still, but not all his disciples are ready to accept his arrest. Peter, who just moments ago could hardly stay awake, finds new vigor as this paltry militia threatens his rabbi. He unsheathes a blade he keeps concealed beneath his tunic and rushes with a violent cry toward the closest member of the mob, a servant of the high priest named Malchus.
A flash, like lightning, fills my vision. Moonlight glinting off a steel blade as it falls upon me. The fisherman brings it down with speed, and I flinch. I think he misses me. There is no pain at first. Then, a cold shock, and a feeling like water running down my neck. I grasp the side of my head and feel rough, wet flesh where my ear should be. Pain comes now, and the cold shock is replaced by a burning, like hot coals on my skin. I fall to my knees with a scream of agony and search the grass frantically for my ear. My vision is blurry with hot tears. I can hardly see. I'm dizzy from the ringing in my head. My right hand glistens a deep crimson in the torchlight. Then there's a hand on my shoulder. I see Jesus, the man we are here to capture, kneeling beside me. He moves to touch my wound, and I recoil, but he steadies me. His face is full of compassion, and he steadies my shoulders. He lays his hand on me, and I brace for another searing jolt of pain. But none comes. I quickly reach to my head, but instead of bleeding flesh, I feel my ear, whole and unmarred. Jesus gives me a soft smile, and then stands and turns to the one who struck me.
Put your sword away. Am I not to drink the cup the Father has given me?
I remain on my knees as Jesus gives himself up to the guards, as they lead him from the garden, and his followers disperse, until I am alone on this hillside beneath the stars. I stare at the blood, my blood, drying on my hand. I serve the men trying to kill him. Why would he heal me? How did he heal me? The ringing in my head has waned, and I am left with only one more question. Could he really be the Son of God?
The armed mob leads Jesus, bound, to the home of the high priest, where they hope to find some evidence to use to put him to death. There are even some men prepared to bear false witness against him to accomplish their goal. Most of the disciples had fled when Jesus was arrested, afraid of what the soldiers might do to them. But one of the 12, Peter, follows the pack to the very courtyard of the high priest's home.
I fight thoughts of hatred as I follow them. I am keeping my distance as the ones who arrested Jesus approach the house where they'll hold him. But even from here, I can tell that Judas is not among them. Judas, my supposed friend, the traitor, the coward. If I ever get within an arm's reach of him again. No. The Lord said, no more violence. Besides, I need to blend in here. Just a little closer. I can't risk being recognized here after what they saw me do in the garden. But I need to be close enough to help it if the Lord needs me. The others ran. I don't blame them. But I will not run. I am the one Jesus called the Rock. I told him at supper I would go with him to death if it came to that. Now I'll prove it. I wrap my cloak higher to conceal as much of my face as I can manage, and notice a scarlet spot at the bottom of my sleeve. That's servant's blood. I tuck it up quickly. A blood stain would invite attention and questions I cannot afford. I take deep, slow breaths to calm my nerves. There are plenty of people here. If I keep to myself, I should go unnoticed. The soldiers are holding Jesus on a patio just under the roof of the house. So I make my way to the far end of the courtyard where I am less likely to be recognized but can still see him. Servants have lit several small fires for the gathered crowd. I approach one of the fires and begin warming my hands against the midnight cold when a servant girl approaches me. She stares at me too long. "You were with that Nazarene, Jesus," she says. I thumb the folded cuff of my sleeve. "I don't know what you're talking about," I say, forcing a dismissive laugh. She keeps glaring at me as I leave the fire for the safety of the shadows near the front gate. I sit in silence for a few moments before I hear her voice behind me again. She's calling out to those standing around me, pointing and saying, "This man is one of them." I call to her over my shoulder and repeat my reply. "No, I'm not," I say, putting on a confused expression for the benefit of those close enough to see. Then another man approaches me slowly. He is tall with a bald head and a short black beard streaked with gray below his chin. It is a distinctive face, one I recognize immediately. I saw him earlier, this very night, standing behind the servant I attacked. He stops mere feet from me, his grim expression unblinking. "Didn't I see you with him in the garden?" He asks it like a question, but his voice is full of accusation. I panic and stand to meet his gaze, my feet firm, my fists clenched. These people could arrest me or kill me for what I had done that night, so I roar back at him, "I don't know the man!" Heads from all over the courtyard turn at my outburst. My heart is racing, and I look through the gate to see even a few of the officials near the house are staring. Jesus is among them. Still shackled, he meets my eyes. A rooster crows. Suddenly, our exchange in that upper room comes rushing back to my mind. "I am not like the others," I had proclaimed. "I will die for you." But Jesus had said,
Before the rooster crows today, you will deny me 3 times.
I gasped for breath, my eyes suddenly filling with tears. All it had taken was a few hours and a hint of danger for me to deny him. My Lord, who healed my family, my Lord, who led me to walk upon water. I am no rock. I am a coward. No better than Judas, unworthy to be a disciple of Jesus. I run from the gate until I'm far enough that no one can hear. I fall to the ground and weep bitterly in shame.
Because Peter leaves the house, he does not witness the unjust trial of Jesus before the high priest. He does not hear the false testimony or see the guards blindfold Jesus to be beaten and mocked. They spit on Jesus, slap him, punch him, and beat him with sticks. Finally, as the sun rises, they take him to the governor, Pontius Pilate, knowing they do not possess the authority to kill him within the law. Pilate finds no fault in Jesus and sends the matter to King Herod, citing jurisdictional concerns to avoid angering the crowd. Herod, who had been intrigued by stories of Jesus' miracles, is eager to meet him, but Jesus performs no sign. Although disappointed, Herod finds no crime in Jesus, and after mocking him as a false king by dressing him in a purple robe, sends him back to Pilate.
Another knock comes at my door. Is one day of peace too much to ask? This festival has brought nothing but headaches and unrest. There is a man locked in the cells downstairs for murder. Bar something. Started a riot last night that left dead behind. I rub my tired eyes with my palms and sigh through pursed lips. I need sleep or a drink. Is it too early in the day for wine? The knock comes again, more urgently this time. All right, I say, donning my robe. I open my chamber door and a servant tells me the priests are back with the Nazarene. My exasperation must be plain because the messenger shrinks back from the doorway. I had hoped Herod would put an end to this nonsense. All I want is to keep the peace in my city, but these people seem intent on vengeance. It's time to put an end to this. I walk to my balcony and see the restless crowd gathered below. Before I can speak, they are shouting at me about blasphemy and a Messiah. I raise my hand for silence, a gesture met with only moderate success. I have found no grounds for charging this man, I tell the gathering, and neither did Herod. Clearly he does not deserve to die. They are raising their voices again, and some begin speaking of crucifixion. I must put this fire out before it grows. I turn to one of my soldiers and tell him to bring me the Nazarene, then retreat back to my chambers. This problem requires more thought and a delicate hand. I decide it is not too early in the day for wine, and I have a servant bring me a cup as I sit. 3 soldiers arrive, pushing Jesus before them. Dried blood and dirt and several purpling bruises adorn his face. He is dressed in a torn purple robe, no doubt a gift Herod thought quite funny. I swirl my cup, then take a long drink before asking him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" His demeanor is calm as he answers me.
My kingdom is not of this world.
Interesting. So he does claim to have a kingdom. I ask him again, "You are a king, then?"
You say that I am a king. I was born for this, and I have come into the world for this, to testify to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice.
What is the truth, I ask him, hoping to learn some reason why the leaders want him dead, but Jesus does not respond. He offers no defense, no explanation. He only stands still, calm, resolute. I wave my hand in dismissal, and the soldiers lead him out. I stare into my cup. This man is no criminal. A bit odd, quite possibly delusional, but not a criminal. I can't sentence him to die. But as I drain the last of my wine, I think of one last trick that may settle the whole affair. An old tradition that even predates my governance of this city. I rise and go quickly back to the balcony to address those still gathered there. "People," I say with my hands above my head again, "it is customary for me to release a prisoner to you during your Passover celebration, so I will have this Jesus whipped and then release him." I am proud of this compromise. It should put the matter to rest. But the crowd responds with a roar. "No!" they shout at me. "Give us Barabbas!" Barabbas? That is the name of the man we are holding in the cells below. You would have me give you Barabbas, the murderer? And what should I do with this man? I look to Jesus, your king. "Crucify him!" they yell in unison. I abandon all decorum and shout back to them, "Why? What has he done wrong?" They do not answer me, but keep chanting, "Crucify him!" Another riot is starting, this time in my own home. All I wanted was peace. Jesus is innocent, but his life is not worth more than the many another riot will take. I call for a basin of water, and in full view of all, wash my hands in it. "You want Barabbas?" I say with disdain. "Take him. Do what you will with the Nazarene. I am innocent of this man's blood."
Pilate the governor finds no peaceful resolution, but bows to the will of the mob, ordering Jesus to be flogged. Jesus' hands are tied to a post, and 2 soldiers stand behind him, holding whips of thick, braided leather with shards of bone attached to the ends. They strike his shoulders, back, and legs, first lacerating only the skin, then beginning to rip the muscles and deeper-set veins. The Jews have a law against whipping a man more than 39 times, considering 40 lashes to be a death sentence. The Romans have no such law. They tear into him again and again until the back of his body is nothing more than a slab of mangled, bloody flesh. When they untie him, the pain is not over. The soldiers mock the King of the Jews with a crown twisted from thorny branches. It slices through his skin as they press it onto his brow, and blood flows down his already swollen face. They spit on him, beat his head with staffs, and tear the purple robe from his body, now sticky with his own clotting blood. Finally, they push him toward the street and force him to carry a heavy wooden crosspiece. Jesus follows the soldiers up the road, laboring under the weight of his own instrument of death. He stumbles, weakened from the whips and beating. The soldiers yell at him to keep moving as a crowd begins to gather at the commotion. Jesus struggles to his feet and makes it just outside the city gates before crumbling again. He doesn't have the strength to stand alone. Impatient, one of the soldiers seizes a passerby, Simon of Cyrene, to help Jesus bear the burden.
I land on my hands and knees in the dirt. The Roman soldier who grabbed me keeps his fist around my cloak and pulls me toward the center of the crowd I've been avoiding on my way into the city. I just arrived with my wife and sons and did not want to get them involved in any trouble. My older son runs after me, but I wave him away, telling him to get his mother and brother to the inn where we'll be staying. I'll meet them there if I can, if this Roman doesn't arrest me, beat me, or worse. I scramble to my feet trying to get my bearings, and he shoves me down again in the center of the throng next to a bloody man crumpled in the dirt. A heavy crucifixion beam lies beside him. He's a criminal then, some thief or murderer sentenced to die. Panic seizes me then. Do they think I had something to do with his crimes? I protest, telling the soldier I don't know this man, that I've done nothing wrong. He laughs and growls at me to pick up the beam. I only need to carry it up the hill, then I'm free to go. I think to argue, but stop myself. There is no fighting Romans. I tie up my cloak and hoist the heavy plank onto my shoulder as more soldiers prod the collapsed criminal until he struggles to his feet again. I follow as he begins the slow ascent up the hill where he is to be crucified, surrounded by people jeering at him, shouting obscenities, spitting on him. Far behind, a group of women wail, as though mourning the dead. Who is this man? Through the cacophony, I hear a name. One man spits it as a curse. Another shouts it over his shoulder to summon a friend. A woman cries it behind me. Jesus of Nazareth. It can't be. Even as far south as Cyrene, we've heard of the Rabbi Jesus. They say he heals the sick, makes the blind see, and speaks with the very voice of God. I asked the Roman who first grabbed me if this really is the Nazarene rabbi. He nods. I can't believe it. What has happened in this city that a teacher of the law could be sent to die like a common criminal? I follow the path of blood left by his mangled body until we reach the top of the hill. Golgotha, they call it, the place of the skull. A fitting name for a patch of earth so stained by death. The soldiers stop the march and order me to drop the beam. I lay it on the ground and stand to find myself face to face with Jesus. His face is so badly cut and bruised he can hardly be recognized as a man. I look deep into one brown eye, the other is swollen shut, and I feel my heart wrench in my chest. In an instant I know this is not the face of an evil man or even a mere innocent one, but something more. This is the face of God. Jesus, I say through the lump in my throat. I long to cry out, to demand an explanation, to find a way to set him free. I reach out to him, and a soldier strikes my arm. He yells at me to get back to the city before he changes his mind about letting me go. I shuffle backward and steal the final glance at Jesus. They are laying him down, stretching his arms across the beam I carried. I can't watch. I look down and see his blood on my feet from following his path and on my hands and arms from bearing his cross. I run from that place. From behind me, I hear a hammer fall.
The Romans excel in the gruesome art of killing. First, they strip Jesus naked so he can die in humiliation. They lay him on his back upon the cross. and a soldier stretches Jesus' arm across the rough beam to drive a thick iron nail between the bones in the front of his wrist. The soldier repeats his deft action on Jesus' other arm before moving to his feet. Jesus' feet are stacked, one on top of the other, and laid flat against the vertical beam, with his knees slightly bent. Then the soldier hammers a single nail through them and deep into the wood. The soldiers hoist the cross, and his body begins to sag. Jesus lets out a cry at the pain searing his wrists and attempts to gain relief by pressing up, but the third nail tears at his feet, causing the pain to increase. The torn flesh of his back grates against the splinters of the cross, and fatigue begins to overwhelm him. His body sags again, and he has not the strength to pull himself up. So begins the slow process of asphyxiation. He gasps for breath between rending cries of agony, now becoming less as his vigor wanes. The soldiers cast lots for his clothing. He tells them he is thirsty, and they offer a sponge full of sour wine to sate him. In a final insult, they make a sign which says, "The King of the Jews," and nail it above his head. He is crucified between two criminals. One joins the horde in mocking Jesus, but the other rebukes the first. He begs the Lord, "Remember me when you come into your kingdom." For this, Jesus finds the breath to respond.
Truly, I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise.
A large crowd attends this gory scene, but one stands out from the rest. A woman, slight of build, her face pale and twisted with grief. She is Mary, the mother of Christ.
My body heaves with sobs, but no more tears will come. I clutch my shawl and bow my forehead to rest with my knees in the dirt. I carried him. I fed him. I cared for him. A perfect, miraculous boy, now hanging, bloody, and dying on a cross. I feel a hand on my shoulder and I turn to see John. He helps me to my feet and holds me upright. We do not speak, but stand together to witness the horror that has become of my baby. This was his purpose from the beginning. He came to bring peace between us and God, but I can't understand in my heart why he had to die like this. From the time he was young, he was strong, gentle, sweet boy. He cared for his brothers and sisters, and for me. He was dedicated in the workshop with Joseph. He led his disciples when they had nothing to give him in return, even in his death. He is caring for others, praying for the forgiveness of the soldiers gambling for his bloody clothes, and offering salvation to the man dying beside him. I raise my head to look at him again and realize he's looking down at me. Between gasps, he says,
Mother, here is your son. John, here is your mother.
My eyes find a way to make more tears and they roll down my cheeks. This is my boy, loving me before himself with his final breaths. I hold on to John and he holds on to me. I know he will take Jesus' words as seriously as I do. He's my family now and I am his. And as our tears mingle in the dirt below our feet, we cry out together for Jesus. A friend, a teacher, a king, God's son, my son.
My God, why have you forsaken me?
My son.
The face of God, innocent.
My Lord.
Healer.
The King.
My son.
Friend.
The face of God, innocent.
The true King.
My son.
My lord!
Innocent.
My lord. My lord.
The face of God.
My lord.
My son, my son,
My lord.
my son, my son.
My lord!
The true king.
My lord!
The true king. King.
The face of God.
King.
The face of God.
The true king.
Is finished. Father, into your hands I commit my spirit.